cold turkey is great on sandwiches, but there's much better ways to break bad habits, particularly in this new year. I'm talking about my sponsor, Fume. Fume is an innovative, award-winning, flavored device built to help you part ways with old habits. Instead of electronics, vapors, and harmful chemicals, Fume is completely natural and uses flavored air. It's a habit you're free to enjoy, and it makes replacing your bad habit very easy. Stopping is something everybody puts off because it's hard, but I'm not telling you to stop. I'm telling you we can switch right now to Fume. It's easy, it's enjoyable, it's even fun. Fume has served over 150,000 customers, and they've got tens of thousands of success stories. And there's no reason the next one can't be you. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, which is helpful when you're de-stressing and trying to break a habit. It's very fun to fidget with. Head to tryfume.com/Chael or scan the QR code. Make sure you use the code Chael to get yourself 10% off. All you gotta do is click the link below. I took a poll. I'm trying to help. And I'm walking on eggshells here. I would support anything Nate Diaz does. I would be behind him completely. And if he's finding himself in a fight and I'm saying that's not going to work, it's a mistake, that can sound as though I'm putting him down or his efforts down or his skills down. Jorge Masvidal's returning. Had his fingers crossed when he retired in the first place. What an incredible thing that those two built. Masvidal versus Diaz. What an incredible thing. West Coast gangster versus East Coast gangster. And it was all done by Nate. Masvidal showed up. He's got the Versace. He's doing everything right. He's got the hair grown. His star was born. The flying knee had taken place. Super necessary was in the bag. But he put 100% of his focus on Conor McGregor. He got his friend, Steve-O specifically, out there vouching for him, fighting for him, trying to get Conor McGregor. He was never expecting, when he showed up in California that night, to be called out by Nate Diaz. It was huge. It was everything that we wanted. And no one had to shift weight classes. Conor going up, Conor going down. Where's Conor going to be at? I mean, that whole thing was just about a draw, and it would have drawn. It was the 1 versus 2. That would have been massive business. I understand that. Conor didn't want to do it, not to mention he wasn't in the weight class. So now all of a sudden, you get the guy that beat Conor calling you out. They booked Madison Square Garden. They put it on top of the bill. The leader of the free world, the biggest dog in Hollywood, have all come to the table. And guess what? Guess what? Now here's the shocking part. This part's shocking. It's not the way you remember the story. Guess what? Everything I just said, it wasn't enough. Whether it was that part of the world, it was too far from Florida, it was too far from California, whether ticket prices were too high, whether it was that date and weekend, we will never know. All we know is it didn't work. So we had to up it again. And that is where the creation of BMF came from. And it caught on. And BMF worked unlike any marketing tool. I would have to go back to a Don Cost promotion in 1986 out of Portland, Oregon, done at the Sports Arena, called a coal miner's glove match. I swear to goodness, I have never seen a marketing tool. That's all the championship belt is, the Olympic gold medal. All these things are marketing. The Super Bowl versus a million other football games every weekend. It's marketing, but I haven't seen a marketing piece work as well as the BMF since the coal miner's glove match. Truly. So, but you have to know all of those things. Boy, you have to know all of those things. Because if you're going to try to duplicate it, see, this is the boxing match. Ariel Helwani has now reported that Nate and George are going to box in March. Guys, that's just not enough time. I mean, just as simple as that, it's just not enough time. If you do everything right, and I mean everything, that alone will sink you. It's not enough time. So, I asked Ariel, because this is very inappropriate. If you had a secret like that, if you had a return like that, Masvidal hinted at this a week when he said, I'm returning. right? It was one of these things. Jake Paul tweeted out that it was Nate versus George, and then later, like, deleted it, but that didn't hurt the tweet. That added to the tweet. So Ariel comes in and says they're going to do it, and they're going to do it in March. It's just not enough time. I don't mean enough time to get ready. I don't mean enough time to tell the story. It's not enough time to educate the fans if you want to sell pay-per-views. The one business nobody understands. And I've told them this a million times as the biggest voice in the sport. You know how many people trying to do this have called me? Said, what is it you know? Why do you keep acting like an expert? What is it what secret is it so sure you've got? They haven't even called. Isn't that weird? Isn't that a weird thing? It's not enough time. And I told the story of the BMF because the BMF was not created the night that Nate called him out. The world loved it. George was surprised. That building went insane. I myself was sitting with Gilbert Melendez. We turned each other. That was the call out, man. When Nate said, you a gangster, but you know West Coast gangster. I mean, it was done. It was done. But it wasn't enough to fill up the garden. There can be a number of variables as to why. Your supporting cast, your date, what you're competing with. There's a number of things, but I'm just sharing with you. That is why it got added. And I only share that with you because not one of those ingredients, right? It worked, but it barely worked. They figured it out right at the end. Thing turned out to be huge. But not one of those ingredients exists today. And if you have personal grudge trumps everything. I don't know if they do. And if I don't know if they do, it's the same as if they don't. It's the exact same thing. When the fight's in March, it's not enough time to tell the story. It doesn't feel like unfinished business. It doesn't feel like something they want to do. It doesn't feel like something they're willing to sacrifice and risk for. There's no belt, there's no title, there's no ranking. It doesn't feel. And if it doesn't feel that way, then it's not. And the first time they did, they had everything that I said, and it wasn't enough. That's the correct way to tell the story. I don't say this at all to be tough. I say this as one of the few guys that for some reason understands these stories or maybe just remembers what was right in front of you. So now there's a discussion that it's also going to be in Las Vegas. And Las Vegas is the fight capital of the world. You can't just bring something to Las Vegas. You can't even just hold your something. If you brought what could be a massive attraction and you stuck it at the Orleans, just for example, it now is not a massive attraction. You have 3 venues in that city to choose from. If you don't have one of those 3, you don't have a massive attraction. Just to start with that, but when I bring up you're taking it to the fight capital of the world, this is an educated audience. Now, most fights held there based on expectation of which history brings you there for is a destination where people come in, but there's not enough time. Not enough time to save, to plan, to find babysitters, to do whatever it is that you need to do. To get your buddy to book your old lady, there's not enough time. People are going to spend that income, that disposable income in February for Valentine's Day. There's not enough time to then regroup and get it done by March. I mean, I can't say that to you enough times. And the only reason I say that to you, the only reason I say it is if you're going to do a deal with whoever you're doing this deal with, get your money up front. Your surety bond is going to protect you to a degree. You're with a very, very freckless commission. It is smoke and mirrors out there. They're not actually going to do a whole lot. Just so you know, you're much better protected than you were in the 60s when commissions got created, but you are not getting your full boat. Not if they stiff you. They'll go back and there'll be a game, it'll be a nightmare, and you'll get a percentage. There is no pay-per-view on this. You've got to understand that. Because when I keep telling you there's not enough time, it's not to tell the story, to build interest, to pop the popcorn. It's not that. There's not enough time to educate the audience on where to go buy pay-per-views. I mean, when Ariel announced this, it was the only question I had, and he was stunned that I asked him. He thought I'd be asking him the rounds or the weight class or if they're making up a belt like so many do. I said, no, I just want to know who the promoter is. There's only 3 promoters in the world. You got guys that can go get a promoter's license. If you don't have distribution, you're not a promoter. You're just some local yokel that says they do it. Right? It's like a guy that goes down to the gym and punches the bag and then tries to tell his buddies, I do UFC. It's like an old joke. What do? I do UFC. It's an old joke. There's no such thing as a promoter if you don't have distribution. You have these local yokels all over California, if you've ever been there, that are producers. They're camera. They got scripts. They got all these different things. Have you ever had anything made? No. Then you're not. Stop. Stop with the I'm a producer because you bought a camera down at Best Buy. Unless it's one of the 3 people who have distribution in America. So the audience knows where to go. So now all you have to do is storytell. You don't have to educate. Even then, you're in a very, very tough position. I don't think those 2 have heat with each other. I don't think there's a back and forth. I don't think that they had bad blood. If I'm wrong, if they want to stab one another. The fact that I don't know is a big problem, but it's not your business problem. Like that match where you got 2 huge stars, they're going to do something. But whether you read about it after the fact or you watch it, determines everything. We don't know who's promoting it. We don't know what date it's on. They're not playing the venue game. They don't have a production team. It's one of these things. It's a tremendous mistake. Tremendous. And I put a poll out on YouTube just to help. Just as one thing, I put a poll out. I thought it would come in about 60-40. Favoritive. About 60-40, but it would be favoritive. The question was just, are you going to watch this? I thought the answer would be yes, but it'd be pretty close to 50-50. I mean, you don't want something like that, right? You want a 95. Take an 88. Guys, it was 92% said no. I only had 5,000 people, in all fairness, but I mean, I had them fast, and it's the base, it's the market, it's you guys. This is a mistake. It's a huge mistake. Stop right now